Reimagining Success, episode 274. And today's episode is an interview with Ashley Leeds. He is the 15-minute guy on LinkedIn. And we, of course, talk about his career journey, which involves many a pivot from having been a chef, moving into sales and coaching, and now ending up as a LinkedIn coach, I suppose you might call it. And of course, because of that expertise, we also touch on some little tips that he has for us when it comes to LinkedIn. But in particular, I loved our conversation around showing up, getting into that habit of doing the thing every day consistently, and above all, being yourself, being authentic. I know it's an overused word, but it's an important one. And that's part of what I found very valuable in this conversation. And I hope you will too. Enjoy the episode. You're listening to the Reimagining Success podcast, where we help you design a business and a life that allows you freedom from the 9-to-5. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg, ex-corporate good girl, now a business mentor and coach, author, mum of 2, and I'm here to help you create more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Now let's get started with redefining success outside of the 9-to-5. Okay, welcome back everyone to the podcast. And this month, as ever, I have an interview for you. Today I'm here with Ashley Leeds, and we met at an in-person event a couple of months ago, which is amazing. I haven't done a lot of in-person events the last few years, so it's such a good energy. And I was really excited to see Ashley, and of course invited him on to the podcast as well. So we're going to dive straight in, Ashley, if I can ask you briefly, and I know you've had many career pivots, so let's have kind of your entire life story in about 2 minutes, if you can manage that.
No,
Tell
absolutely.
us who you are. And then I promise to give you more to dive into all the nuances.
No, I can actually do it in 2 minutes. Okay. So I left school. I wanted to be a DJ, right? On Radio 1. And I lived in Newquay, so near all the hotels and what have you. And I ended up being a chef. Worked as a chef, met my wife literally just down the road from here at a hotel. We got married. We wanted to start a family. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mum, and I was 100% behind her. So I came out of catering and went into sales. And I've spent 30 years in sales. And over my career, I've had 30 different jobs. And about 16 years ago, I ended up selling software to accountants. And that's where I got into the accounting space. And then 5 years ago, I ended up coaching accountants and bookkeepers, so helping them to grow and understanding all about the coaching. And because I had all these transferable skills from before, I thought like, oh my goodness, coaching, that is incredible. And so 2.5 years ago, I ended my job with my old boss. And I was going to get another job. My wife said, you cannot have any more jobs set up on your own. You can coach accountants. So that's what I started doing. But I had an anti-compete clause, so I couldn't coach accountants initially. So I thought, what else can I do? So I started teaching LinkedIn. And that is just incredible. And it's opened up so many doors for me that I've had a bit of news this week, and by the time this goes out, you'll probably know all about it. All because of what I'm doing on LinkedIn, all because of the things I'm doing on LinkedIn, all because of all the people I'm helping on LinkedIn. So my boss, with her anti-compete clause, did me a huge favor. So yeah, and here I am today on a podcast.
I love that. And I heard you say it a couple of times. You said I ended up, and I always use that too, because I studied one thing and then ended up in marketing. To what extent, at any point in that journey, were you super intentional about where you wanted to go, and to what extent was it completely accidental and it was just kind of being open to opportunities and making decisions on the go, on the fly?
100% accidental. When I met my wife, my whole life changed, and there was someone else to care about, and someone, and then we had children, and then, wow, that just totally changes. And it for me, having my first daughter just made me realize why I was here. And so I've just put everything into being a father and a good husband. And so just provided. I've had some good jobs. I've had some bad jobs. I've had some lovely bosses. I've had some not so lovely bosses. And I get to a point with the role that I'm doing, and I thought, I've had enough of this, and I'll go and do something else. And so, yeah, it is all purely accidental. But I got there in the end, and I am living my best life and absolutely loving what I do. And the opportunities that are coming my way, different things, are just incredible.
And I love that. And I suppose, is there a pattern throughout, or now where you've ended up? How would you define success, living your best life? What does that mean exactly for you?
So success for me has always been told by my boss that I've done a good job. I've always been in sales. So doing a good job meant I earned a little bit more money because it was commission based. But I just like to do a good job. I like to see people happy with what I've done. I suppose if we spoke to some psychotherapist, there's probably some trauma back in my life from years ago. And to me, success now is spending a little bit more time with my family. I've now got a grandson, so spending a bit of time with him, going down the beach and spending some time on my paddleboard. And that's how I measure success. So I don't have a Porsche, I don't have a big flash house, but I'm happy.
Mm. And you seem like a very positive, resilient person. Have you come across any, well, that's a stupid question, of course you have, but what have been the biggest challenges, I suppose? And how have you coped with, I guess, the ups and downs of these various changes along the way?
I've always been a fighter. And so my parents divorced when I was young. So I guess I've always come through things. So that's probably where it all started. You know, one minute your life's amazing and the next minute the whole family's broken up and all that sort of thing. So maybe I've just got this survival instinct, but we've had challenges in the past. We bought a house up in Coventry and we moved up to Coventry and we moved back the next day because we didn't like it. And you know, and it's all I've got loads of stories. This podcast isn't long enough for all of my stories. But I think when you go through a trauma or something difficult, something, you know, out of the ordinary, something outside your comfort zone, and you get through it, you think, oh, that's fine. I can do that. And so I'm not afraid to try things. I've renovated houses and I've done the electrics and I've put in central heating, all things like that other people's are like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get a specialist in. And so, yeah, I've done that over, you know, our lives. And, you know, we've just built things and just had a go. Because what's the worst that can happen if you mess up your electric? You could actually die. But they've got Part P and stuff like that. So it was all checked. But yeah, it's just having a go, isn't it? And I think that's why I'm positive, because at least I had a go.
Yeah, wonky electrics may kill you, but I don't think a wonky business plan necessarily will in this world, right? So you might be slightly embarrassed by a not so slick video that you post or something, but ultimately, in the short term at least, not a lot can go that wrong. And before we get into the most recent pivot and LinkedIn and so, which I think is the most relevant maybe in the context of this podcast, but I'm so curious about the chef part, and you mentioned transferable skills. Just looking back on that, because obviously we talk a lot about office environments and it's so clear that yes, I'm good at managing teams and I can present and negotiate, but what have you taken from the chef experience into what you do today?
Right, okay, so years and years ago when I was at school, the elder people talked about they should bring back national service and stuff like that. I'm now that older person, and I reckon that every single person, every young person, when they're at school or at university and that, they should work in hospitality. Because if you work in hospitality and get it right, you'll never work as hard ever again, because it's hard work working in the kitchens, you know, waiting on, looking after people who are on holiday or going out for a nice meal. And so by working in a kitchen, you can cope under pressure. You become resilient. You become hardened. It's, you know, it's hard work getting up at 7 o'clock to go and cook breakfast and then staying on until, you know, 10 o'clock at night doing, you know, dinners and stuff like that. It's a hard life. And you have to do things really quickly. You know, so there's an order on for this, and this, and then it's got wrong. So you've got to cook it all again. And yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy, but it really does teach you resilience and, organization. There's probably loads of things that it teaches you, but I think just the fact that you can just get up and do it again. So yeah, I've never worked. You know, when I came out of catering, my life was easy.
To have a really difficult career at the beginning, and then everything else should be a piece of cake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-mm. And with the LinkedIn, then I guess two first questions. One is, how did you land on it? Because how did you start? You know, what led you to even consider it? And then secondly, what is it about it that works so well for you that you think is such a good fit?
Well, so there's talk that there's about 1 billion people on LinkedIn. So there's going to be a few people that are going to need a hand, surely. But what I was doing in my previous role, I was working with an accountant, and, you know, part of my role helping them and coaching them we had lots of different programs. But I was chatting to this guy, and he said, "Oh, how do I get more leads? How do I get more leads?" And I've been using LinkedIn for years. And I said, "Well, you need to do this on the LinkedIn." So I explained to him what to do, and he went away and met him the next week. "How are you getting on?" It's all over Zoom. Met him the next week. "How are you getting on?" He said, "I haven't done it." I said, "Right, okay." So we shared the screen, and I said, "Right, here you go here, and you do that there, and you do this." And I go, "Right, okay." And so come back next week. Nothing. So I said, right, okay, tomorrow, you, me, Zoom, 15 minutes. We'll just do 15 minutes. And what we'll do is we'll share your screen and I'll point you in the right direction. And so there I was, right? He started sharing his screen and I'm sort of like, right, go into LinkedIn. So he goes into LinkedIn and he's like this on his keyboard and trying to put his password. And I think, oh my goodness, do this as a shortcut, do that as a shortcut. So I was showing him some things on Chrome and stuff like that. And then I said, right, see this person here. And there was somebody there was a van, a picture of a van and some words and stuff like that. And I said, right, you need to write a nice comment. And I came up with the comment and I said, look, here you go. And I just tapped it in the computer and he copied and pasted it and put that in. And I explained why we'd done it. And basically, when you comment on someone else's post, you're making them feel good. And he's like, oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I said, how come how come you're connected to this guy? And he said, oh, I do the accounts for their church. I said, right, okay. So, and we did this thing. Anyway, by the end of that week, so every single day I went back in and we did a little bit more and we did a little bit more and a little bit every day. So he got it. By the end of that week, he had an order from that guy for £1,200 worth of business. And basically this guy sort of like, oh, thanks ever so much for commenting on my post. That's really kind of you. And I'm glad you did that because it reminded me that I need to do something with my accounts for my van business. Is there any chance that we can have a chat? They had a chat, come up with a proposal, and he was now my client's client. So, and it's just about being visible and knowing what to do. And so when I got to my, new business and I realized I couldn't do what I wanted to do, I thought, maybe I can resurrect that. Because I know it works. Because if you've got someone holding your hand every day for a week, you can't fail, can you?
I think it's an interesting one on a couple of levels. First, in choosing the business model for you, because it sort of happens organically. You help someone and the problem just kind of arises. You might never have gone out thinking, I'm going to sell this service. But when you do it, you see that there is a need for it and clearly it works. And yes, you can really see in detail the problems that people are facing that perhaps you hadn't picked up on. And then what was I thinking for a second point? It's gone from my mind. I think in terms of the accountability for me, it's something I see again and again. There are so many, within business coaching, whatever you want to call it, within sales coaching, within, mindset and strategy and branding, there is so much information. You can literally now go to ChatGPT and say, what are 10 things I should do to do it? The problem is not that we don't know how to do it. The problem is that we're not doing it. And so this kind of idea of doing bite-sized accountability, and, the trainer I work with, I can do if I want to, a daily check-in with her. We do a weekly check-in, new program every 6 weeks. It's that kind of, unfortunately, hand-holding, little hacks, little steps we need to take, little accountability rather than the big, hey, I'm going to go off and do a week-long, hours and hours worth of LinkedIn training. That's not what people need, is it? As you said, it's really anchoring it in your habits. That's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah. And that's what I did in that week with that guy. And so what I then did is thought, hang on, if I can do it for one, I can do it for more than one. And so that's what I do. And so basically it's a 15-minute a day workshop that lasts a week. And then you've got the tools to just go and do it. And the thing is, if you do 15 minutes every single day for a whole year, that's 65 hours of free marketing. Who doesn't want that?
It sounds easy when you say it that way, but there are other things we have to do too, right? We have to create content, we have to do admin and accounting and all these other things, and of course, client delivery and so on. I suppose for you, because you mentioned that you've got these exciting opportunities that will hopefully be available publicly once this goes out, but I'm not allowed to hear yet. But I did a poll, funnily enough, on LinkedIn a few weeks ago to ask, for those of you who think personal branding is important, why is it important to you? And 100% of them said to create new opportunities, which I think is interesting. So what are you doing in terms of your personal brand to create those opportunities that are now coming your way?
So it's all about consistency, isn't it? I think that's the thing is we see somebody and we look up at them. They're at the top of this mountain or getting close to the top of the mountain. It's like, oh my goodness, what they're doing is amazing. But we haven't seen all the blood, sweat and tears that they've been doing for the years before. And that's the thing. It looks like someone's an overnight success, but you haven't seen what they've done before. And I think we forget all of that. And when I turn around to people and say, look, just stop a second and look behind you to see how far you've actually come yourself. Because you're ahead of a load of other people and a load of other people are looking up to you and thinking, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And it's just making sure that you keep moving forward. So what am I doing for my personal brand? I'm showing up in places. going on podcasts and things like that, I always wear a yellow t-shirt. I got on my branding on my photo on LinkedIn, I've got a yellow background, and I use the same yellow background on my Zoom, on my Instagram, on all my socials, even on my volunteer badge. It's the same image, and it's just simple things like that. And you see somebody and they've got an image that they're doing that, and they've got an image and there was somebody else, and then an image with, and it's sort of like, no, you need to be on brand all the time. And so yeah, that's what I do.
It's such a cluttered environment, isn't it? And we're overthinking it so much, thinking we have to show up in a different way, new ideas all the time, new messages, different pictures, and it's just confusing people, or worse, they're just indifferent, they're not even noticing it.
Yeah, and you look at some of the big logos that we all know, Apple, McDonald's, British Airways, these big brands, they've been the same for years. They don't go changing them.
Well, they do, but then there's uproar, isn't there? I mean, for me, I was quite traditionalist. BA had this very slick, straight thing, and then went all wibble wobble with the ribbon thing. But then, we've accepted that eventually too, so it's okay.
But it's all about being consistent, and making sure that you do that. That it's a hassle making sure I've always got a yellow t-shirt. No, it's not. Have a few. Make sure you've got them on hangers inside your shed. You just get into that way of thinking.
Yeah, I did actually have someone say to me, I've seen you around, and I'm wearing yellow in all my photos, but I'm afraid I haven't gone as far as wearing it on all the videos and things, only in the photo profiles and things. And one of the other mistakes I think people are making is that we're comparing ourselves to the wrong thing. As you said, I can compare myself to someone who's 10 years ahead. And of course, you haven't seen, as you said, the blood, sweat and tears. You have no idea what they're doing behind the scenes, or even actually if they're successful, you're just seeing sort of the polished image. But I also see there are some really big name viral people who are getting millions of views on their posts and so on. And I have to stop myself and say, hang on a second. Am I trying to be a viral creator, or am I trying to run a profitable business where I have a respected brand among the people who need to know who I am and what I do, right? And I think that's where we go, I've got to get thousands of views and likes and so. I was like, no, you actually don't. You need to get in front of the right people with the right message. And the example you gave of your client there, it was that guy with a van who needed to know. It's not reaching 20 million people around the world with some inspirational quote that has no relevance to your business and so on. I think sometimes we get a bit greedy and also a bit lost as to what success looks like for us from the personal brand, from the LinkedIn perspective as well.
Yeah, you see someone like Stephen Bartlett with God knows how many followers, and you're sort of like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to be like that. You will be one day, but you don't need to be that big as long as you've got enough clients and enough people seeing you. But if you make sure that your brand is relatable, then people will start recommending you, even though they don't need your services. They see you as the expert. So, if you want to speak to someone who knows LinkedIn, you need to speak to Ashley, the guy with the yellow. And, that's what happens. Mm-hmm. And so people start talking, it's getting people talking about you. So, being consistent, that's all you need to be.
Mm. And are you still spending 50 minutes a day on LinkedIn, or do you spend more now, given that it's sort of your bread and butter?
It's my job. I have to be there. But the thing is, right, I probably was only doing 50 minutes a day. But as soon as I started seeing that this works and that doesn't work and what have you, I think the biggest thing with anything that you do in life is showing up and putting the right effort in. And you see a lot of people going down the gym, don't you? Okay, and they drive to the gym, which makes me laugh. And they got all their fancy stuff on, and they go and jump on this machine and that machine and have a personal trainer, etc., etc., etc. But it's consistency. I've got something to show you. I do this as part of my training as well, but I'm holding up to the screen a piece of card with loads of numbers on it. And basically, a guy that is into CrossFit turned around to me and sort of like, didn't berate me for all of my walking, but I used to walk 15,000 steps every single day. But that was the only exercise I did, which compared to the average person is absolutely fine. But there's no muscle strengthening. And I've got a 3-year-old grandson. I want to be able to chase him down the beach. I want to be able to play in the sea with him. And when he starts kicking a ball, I want to be able to play football with him. So so this guy turned around and said that you need to do 100 sit-ups, press-ups every day. And I've also added some resistant bands. So basically what I do is every single day I come in my shed and I do 100 sit-ups and I do 100 press-ups and I do my 100 stretches. And that's all because I write it down and I've got the discipline to do that. And it's in my psyche now. It's a habit. And so, I feel fitter. I can chase my grandson and stuff like that. And it's just making sure that you're doing the things that that are going to move the needle forward. And so I could go to the gym and probably spend an awful lot, definitely spend an awful lot more money, but not spend it as wisely as I'm spending it, my time as wisely as I'm spending it here. And so I come in and I get it done. Because when we go to the gym, it's raining, so we're not going to go out, or this has happened and we're not going to go. And whatever it is, because I write that down every single day, I do it. And I had a really busy weekend. And, last thing I wanted to do this morning was 100 sit-ups. But I did it because I've written it down.
I think it's knowing yourself and knowing what you're trying to achieve. And the consistency is so huge. I do go to the gym and I do drive because it's far away, but that works for me. And then we take the kids swimming and I've got the program and stuff. So, that's, you need to find the way that works for you. And it's a beautifully sunny day here too. My favorite thing to do is running, which yes, in the rain is not so fun. I got caught in the hail the other day. So there you go. But I've now got that routine and I love it. I hear you saying you want to play with your grandson. It's my mental health sanity thing is to go out and run by the sea. It's my only time by myself. I feel like when it's just me, fresh air, ocean, it's like my whole reason for being. And that drives me outside. If you're just like, oh, I need to get fitter, or I want to lose some weight, or I should really be on LinkedIn, shouldn't I? Then obviously none of these tips are ever going to help. And that's where I think you need the habit. It actually reminds me of years ago, I thought I needed to do more videos and I was terrible at it. And I forced myself to do a daily live on Facebook. They're still there. Please don't go and look for them because they're horrendous. But I did a daily little live. Awful, but that little practice got me over the hump. And then since then I've been, try and stop me with the videos, right? Any new habit, unfortunately, means getting out of your comfort zone, means so much more energy is required to establish that habit. But once you have it there, once you've got your sheet or spreadsheet or whatever it is that you're using or tracking, then it's so much easier and you almost take it for granted.
And if you do a live on Facebook, because I did exactly the same during COVID. And I did it at the same time every day. So people were expecting me. So you can't let them down. So, that was another motivation to make sure you're doing it. Because, I don't know what the stats are for podcasts. I think it's 7 episodes that people do, and then that's it. But, it's just keep going. Just keep going.
That's funny because everyone celebrates, I'm in the top 5% of podcasts. Like, yes, you are, because you've done more than 7 episodes. So yeah. I'm I know that I'm in the top whatever, but it's purely through sheer grit of continuing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, because you've done all of these podcasts, you know how to do podcasts, you know how to interview people, you probably don't run from a script so much now. And it's all those sorts of things because, I've done this and I've done that. And it just becomes easier. But when you did your first one, you were probably a nervous wreck. You probably put it off 3 or 4 times before you started.
Well, even working out, the idea of starting a podcast, you get so caught up, what microphone should I get, and editing, and do I do it myself, and outsource, or should I use Zoom or Riverside and all these things, right? And yes, of course, once you're doing it, those things aren't even on your radar. So it's just, I love coming back to what you said earlier, just try it, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And then before you know it, just close your eyes, keep going, and then you'll wake up one day and you've done 100 lives or podcast episodes or whatever. You're mentioning the exercise, you've mentioned your grandchild, you've obviously got your LinkedIn. What does a typical week look like for you, if there is a typical week? What are sort of your working hours? Is it quite flexible? Do you have a structure? You sound like quite a structured person.
I have to have structure. I have to have structure. So I come in the morning between 5 and 6. Smash my exercises at the park, do a bit of yoga, and then I come in, I do a bit on LinkedIn, and then I set myself up for the day. I have meetings with people, I do training, I do one-to-one, so I do all of that. And I've got a Calendly link, so you can book a time with me whenever you like, as long as it's all day Monday, but before lunch every other day. And I don't take any meetings in the afternoon. So when I'm talking with my clients and they need a meeting, I've got room to put them in the afternoon. Some afternoons I could just turn around and go, let's go down the beach. But then I turn around and go, right, I'm doing this, and so I block out time in my diary in the afternoon, and that's for writing my book or creating a new course or whatever it is like that. So yeah, that's how it works. And then every month or so I do my workshop. So there's the build up for that and the week long and the backing up and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all good fun. And then I've got a couple of regular clients that I meet with on a regular basis as well. So yeah, and it keeps me busy and it's good fun. And I do my 2 lives every week as well. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday taken care of.
And And I suppose I can't let you go without asking you, what is, one step, I suppose, if you can limit to that one thing, if somebody is, let's break it down to two things. One, if they're not even on LinkedIn, they barely, they've never dared to post anything, what should they do? And the second is, maybe we're already on there, we're doing stuff. How could we take it to the next level?
Right. Okay. And this is the thing. Everybody thinks it's all about creating content. The first thing is understanding what LinkedIn is. Okay. Think of LinkedIn as a networking event. So we met at a real life networking event. Yeah. We all went there. We all said hello. We had to get dressed. We had to look smart. We had to go into a room and it was a travel to get there. And for me, it was a couple of hours. It was pretty similar for you, wasn't it? And then we were there for a couple of hours and what have you. That's a networking meeting. We had a quick chat and we had a little natter. That's like commenting on a post. Yeah. So John and I can't remember the other guy's name. They got up and said a few words. They were like creating the content, but we were commenting on all the posts and hi, how are you? We made a connection and stuff like that. And so while we were there, we started to get to know each other, and then we started to like each other. Yeah. Next time we meet, and the time after, we say, "Oh, I definitely trust you," and you recommend you this, and we start building up that trust. And that's what we do on LinkedIn. So it's going in, showing up, being regular, being helpful with your comments, and letting people see who you are, and just sharing your personality. I did some filming with a guy on Thursday, and I've met him a couple of times, but we've never really had a decent chat. And so we were waiting for the cameraman to set up and goodness knows what. So we were just chatting away. And he said, "You are just like you are in real life. You are just like what you are on LinkedIn." And that is a compliment, because
Love it.
It's just being authentic. And I don't know about you, but every morning I get up, I am me. And so it's not difficult to be authentic. And so many people come onto LinkedIn going, "Oh, it's a grown-up platform. I've got to be grown up." No, be yourself. Just be authentic. So I think that's the key thing, is show up, be authentic, and comment. And then once you start getting that, then start thinking of creating content.
No, I love that. I've always said that too. And it's easy to forget it because, I come from a content strategy background. It's all about creating content, and it can seem quite intimidating when you're starting. And yet commenting, I strongly believe, is going to get you in front of the right people way more, in fact, at the beginning, especially right then, creating your own, which is hopefully a huge relief. And I love what you say about being authentic as well. I'm the same, and it's so important to me. And it's so much more manageable if I can talk to you and then talk to my partner and talk to a colleague, talk to a client, and I'm just myself. And I think people are so put off by the whole idea of building a personal brand in itself. Oh, I've got to, yes, curate and be polished and be perfect. And unfortunately, I'm never going to, if I had to have the perfect setup and nails done and everything, it's never going to happen. So sort of, this is me, and that's how I get by. Whereas there are other clients and other producers, creators who, have a different brand. And I think that's what's important. But I love that. So I hope everyone's listening, get out there, comment, try something, and be yourself, and just try to see, it's hard, isn't it? But try to see it as just a conversation with people, even if it feels a bit artificial at the beginning. And before you know it, you might have that next opportunity around the corner.
Yeah, but isn't that what it's like at a networking event? You go to a networking event, I'm a little bit, but you do it a few more times. You go, I'm a little bit more confident. Anna's there again. Go, hi Anna, how you doing? You go and have a little chat, and you go, yeah. And you're all confident. Great. So you've done that with one person, do it with another person.
Yeah.
You've done that, today on LinkedIn, do it again tomorrow. And just it's just a little step. When I started my sit-ups and press-ups, I didn't do 100 on the first day. I did 10, and then I had to go to hospital, obviously. And then every day I did an extra one, and then I did an extra one, and then I did an extra one. So it took me 90 days, so 3 months, to get up to the level that I'm at now. But I got there.
And you have to keep challenging yourself. That's it, right? Because I read something similar the other day. Because next time I went to an event, last time, let's say I didn't know anybody, and I saw you, and it's kind of uncomfortable. I don't know him, and then you talk, and it's not uncomfortable. But I mean, it could be if I was new to these conversations, and if it was a horrible networking event, it would be very uncomfortable. But the next time, I'd sort of latch onto you because I know you, and I think that's the next danger, is that you get then into your comfort. I've done my big brave thing. I've talked to someone, and now I can relax again. And I think that's something that's just got to keep going, just keep chipping away, keep taking those little steps in order to build up over time. And that's those 50 minutes a day that you're talking about. That's kind of keep challenging yourself, and coming back full circle to your whole story. Just keep experimenting, keep kind of, okay, this isn't working, I want to try something else, being open to new opportunities. And that's, sounds like a successful strategy for you, at least so far. And it sounds like you've landed on your feet.
It seems to have worked, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So speaking of which, where can we find you? I'm imagining you're going to say LinkedIn, but what's the best next step to someone listening who wants to find your yellow face, I was going to say, but at least your yellow
I know what you mean.
Brand somewhere online.
Yeah, so if you just Google Ashley Leeds, you should find me. Because what happens is if you do a lot on LinkedIn, Google love LinkedIn. So if you Google Ashley Leeds, then my profile is going to come up on Google. But if you go into LinkedIn and just put my name in, I will come up. I'm the 15-minute guy. I'm all yellow, and I have premium, which means that you can message me for free. You don't have to, connect with me or anything. So all my contact details are there. So just reach out. And if you go into my contact details, there's a load of free resources. So learn a load from me before you even come to pay me for anything. So there you go.
To know I can trust you, absolutely. I love that. It's a great search engine, isn't it? I unfortunately have a famous actress called Anna Lindberg who recently had a baby, and she's just completely dominated my search results. So I'll be back there rebuilding, taking back my rightful place on the throne in Google results.
Oh, that's a shame, that is. Why don't you put a middle initial in?
I do have that on all my handles. I have my
right.
SC, absolutely, but obviously I want to own the name. It's a very common name in Sweden too. It's hundreds of thousands of people, I think. So it's slightly harder. But there you go. I'm determined to do it. I will climb that mountain and I'll be back on top again. But Ashley, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure chatting with you. I'm really curious to learn more about you. I'm always open to new strategies and to get back on the LinkedIn. I was going to say bandwagon, but that's not the right word. But back into the consistent routine and
habit.
I'm sure habits. That's the word. I love that. Habit, accountability. And just and peeing yourself. It sounds so wishy-washy, doesn't it? But it's so important, and hopefully takes a bit of the pressure off as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
No, thanks ever so much for having me. Cheerio.
There is so much incredible information out there that's going to help you build and grow your business. However, what is missing from all this is the personalized feedback, support with troubleshooting, and tailored guidance that's really designed to help you in your particular situation with your specific challenges. Introducing the Business Incubator, a mentoring program focused on exactly that: implementation, support, and accountability to help experienced corporate professionals like you grow your expert business faster without sacrificing your personal life to do so. You'll get expert guidance and personal feedback to help you focus on the right things at the right time, comprehensive training materials and frameworks to support you, but above all, you will get weekly structure and accountability to help you identify your priorities, stay focused and review your progress. And you'll get a supportive community of people who get it, who are going to cheer you on and share their lessons learned. So this is a really unique hybrid program that gives you the intimacy of one-to-one support, the training, frameworks and structure of a course, and that community element of a group program. You can read more and apply now at onestepoutside.com/grow. That's onestepoutside.com/grow.